bahwa keinginan untuk bergabung di dalam BRICS ini sudah dicetuskan jauh sebelum Pak Prabowo waktu itu menjadi presiden.
Halo Sobat Nawikrama TV, tahukah Anda pengakuan Indonesia sebagai anggota penuh BRICS pada tahun 2002? 5 mencerminkan pentingnya negara kita dalam landscape global. Dengan berbagai alasan yang dimiliki, Indonesia menjadi aset strategis yang signifikan di mata BRICS. Masuknya Indonesia memperkuat posisi BRICS sebagai entitas ekonomi dan geopolitik yang dominan, sekaligus memperluas pengaruhnya di tatanan global. Hal ini menunjukkan langkah terencana BRICS untuk membangun aliansi yang lebih kuat, juga mempertimbangkan faktor ekonomi, geopolitik, dan strategis pada calon anggotanya. Artinya tidak serta-merta sebuah negara bisa gabung begitu saja. Nah, untuk memperjelas mengapa Indonesia menjadi prioritas BRICS awal tahun 2025 ini, kita bisa mendengar pengakuan secara langsung dari seorang diplomat senior dari Malaysia, yaitu Dr. Ilanggo Karupanan. Sebagai informasi, Dr. Ilanggo Karupanan telah memegang posisi penting di berbagai penugasan luar negeri selama lebih dari 33 tahun. Termasuk sebagai Komisaris Tinggi Malaysia untuk Singapura dan penugasan duta besar di Lebanon dan Siprus. Dia juga seorang pengamat tentang hubungan internasional, ASEAN, BRICS, Timur Tengah, dan isu-isu global lainnya. Jadi jelas narasumbernya benar-benar orang yang kompeten. Mari kita simak bersama penjelasan beliau dengan seksama. Kenapa harus Indonesia dan bukan Malaysia yang dipilih jadi anggota penuh BRICS?
At the Kazan BRICS Summit last year, 13 countries were admitted as partner countries. But in January, only Indonesia has been admitted as a full member. So why is Indonesia a priority? The first reason is economics. Indonesia is the largest economy in Southeast Asia. Its economy is about $1.4 trillion as of 2023. So for BRICS, it is vital to have Indonesia as a member, an important member at that. Now, I mentioned to you that the global GDP of BRICS is roughly about 31%, but with the inclusion of Indonesia, it is going to jump over 41% of the global GDP, and therefore now, with Indonesia's inclusion, BRICS becomes an entity that just cannot be ignored. It is too big to be ignored. Number 2, Indonesia is a supplier of critical minerals and materials. In my videos on BRICS, I have explained that one of the fundamental strategy employed by BRICS in search of its membership is that the members must be suppliers of critical materials and minerals. The admission of South Africa, for example, was intended specifically for that because it is producer of huge amounts of components which are required for the economy of the future, various sensitive economic manufacturing items today. And the other important mineral component which is being produced by the members of BRICS is, of course, oil, and that's the reason why countries like the several members in the Middle East, including Iran, have been admitted. So Indonesia is on its own, by its own right, a producer of such kind of minerals. So this plays right into the BRICS strategic calculation. Number 3, it is strategic location. And again, in a previous video, I have explained that the second important strategic calculation that BRICS takes into account is the location of its members. It is important for BRICS to be in control of the major trade routes. So if you were to look at the map, for example, you'll find that the Suez Canal area, which includes countries like Egypt, UAE, and in the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia, Cape of Good Hope, South Africa. These are all important waterways of the world, and this is where the members of BRICS are. So it is no coincidence that Indonesia should be chosen as a member because it sits astride the Straits of Malacca. For this reason too, I think that Malaysia and Thailand would also feature as potential members because of the location. But coming back to Indonesia, its location in Southeast Asia, specifically along the Straits of Malacca, makes it a very important player because this waterway is the other important maritime trade routes that are vital to global economy, and BRICS is determined that its members must come from these regions, and Indonesia fits that bill. Number 4 is leadership. Indonesia is the de facto leader of ASEAN, or the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. It simply is because Indonesia is the biggest power in this region, and it is also a thought leader and a pathfinder for the countries in this part of the world, and therefore Indonesia's voice, as globally speaking, is very important, and that is, I think, one of the most valuable assets, intangible assets that Indonesia brings to BRICS. For that reason, Indonesia is indispensable, if you ask me, for BRICS. And number 5, linked somewhat to its global leadership, is Indonesia's position on non-alignment. Now, Indonesia, as you know, is one of the founding fathers of, in fact, parents of the non-aligned movement with its Bandung conference in the 1950s. So Indonesia has always had a preferred position when it comes to the global south, as a voice for the global south in many ways, and non-alignment is one of them. And this is again a very important strategic asset for BRICS, because Indonesia's voice is a voice of reason when it speaks out there on international issues. So I think this is also an important calculation that has gone into the minds of the BRICS members when they decided to admit Indonesia very early on, as in 2025. And number 6 is its population. Indonesia has 280 million people living in it. Its sheer size makes it impossible to be ignored. And imagine having a member like Indonesia in BRICS. It simply elevates BRICS to another level of importance as in terms of organizations in the world. With the admission of BRICS, now the population of BRICS would be well over half of the world's population. So again, as I said, from the economic standpoint, BRICS just simply cannot be ignored. But when you throw in the component of population, its strategic location, and its voice, politically speaking, BRICS is simply no pushover. Now it is actually a force to be contended with. So Indonesia's admission has basically now positioned BRICS in a different league altogether, if you were to ask me. An important league as an important player. That is why Indonesia has to be brought in early. So Indonesia was admitted very early in 2025. It simply means that all the existing members of BRICS have agreed on consensus to admit Indonesia, and this must have been the calculation that has gone into their minds in making this decision. Now, I have mentioned to you that BRICS is positioning itself by putting in the strategic building blocks, starting with the strategic materials, the supplier routes, and then it goes on to the banking system, which is another area which I've spoken about in the previous videos. I mentioned to you a little bit just now about the new development bank and this payment system called Enbridge, etc. So you can see now a big picture emerging. A solid world economic order is being built on these pillars which I have just spoken about. Of course, there is a long way to go, but BRICS is very careful and cautious about how it is going about doing it. It is in no hurry, in my opinion. I think it is also allowing the existing order to adjust itself so that it is not going to be confrontational. But here I think Indonesia's admission brings a lot of value.
Jadi kurang lebih begitulah pandangan Ilango Karupanan tentang diterimanya anggota BRICS terhadap Indonesia. Sehingga mereka memprioritaskan Indonesia untuk bergabung lebih awal menjadi anggota penuh BRICS. Meskipun pada tahun 2024 kemarin, India mengatakan bahwa untuk 5 tahun ke depan, BRICS belum bisa menerima anggota baru karena ingin melakukan seleksi lebih ketat pada negara calon anggota BRICS. Di series kami yang sudah menonton, silahkan berikan tanggapan Anda di kolom komentar.